everyone, it's Kathy and you're back here on my YouTube channel, Kathy's Random Acts of Stampin'. As many of you know, I am a Stampin' Up, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and here is our new annual catalog. This just launched in May, and this is the card that we're going to be doing today. Isn't that super, super cute? I got this idea from another Stampin' Up demonstrator. In fact, I cased her card because I thought it was so cute, and I will list her in the video description below. But what we're going to be doing, looking at our catalog, we're going to combine this brand new stamp set called Lighthouse Point. Yes, this one's a lot different than the one that we had from a year or so ago. This one is totally different, and what is a game changer is going to be these rocks right here. And I absolutely love that. We're also going to bring in some of the dies from Waves of Inspiration. So we're going to use those wave dies, which are absolutely adorable. So without any further ado, because we do have a lot to do on this card, everything from ink blending to die cutting and everything in between. I'm going to move my Stampin' Chamois over here so I can reach it when I need it. Have my die cut machine right here. Now, I did change up some of the products that I used just a tiny bit. We are going to use same as we did here, a black card base. So here is my card base, and it is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. So that gives us our traditional A2 size card. Then we're going to need a mat, and this is Balmy Blue, and it's cut by 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to grab a piece of scratch paper, so we'll use this right here. And we are going to use some of the new masking paper that Stampin' Up has just come out with. And I'm going to use the same piece I used for my demo, or my prototype card, and I'm just going to tear this off. And this is cut at about 2 inches, maybe about 2 1/4. And all I'm going to do is line this up to the top of my card, something like that, and then I'm going to press everything down nice and tight, because I want a nice straight line across where the horizon is going, which is this right here. So I'm going to set that card up right there where I kind of can keep a peek on it. I'm going to pull that little wrinkle out. I did get a little wrinkle, and sometimes a wrinkle can cause a little ripple there, and I don't want that. So now we're going to go ahead and grab one of our blending brushes, and I'm using the one for my blues. And the reason I'm choosing that one is because we're going to use Tahitian Tide. And you might think, you're using Tahitian Tide on Balmy Blue? Because I want the skyline to look blue, and I also want the water to look blue. And what's any more beautiful than this lovely Tahitian Tide? So I'm going to load up my ink pretty well, and I'm going to tap off one time, but we're just going to go back and forth with back and forth strokes like that. And you're not going to see a big difference all at once, but it will make a tremendous difference when we peel off that masking tape or masking paper. And you're going to see what I'm going to do. This card has a lot of little bits and pieces to it, and a lot of different techniques. But you know what? It's so worth it when everything is done and you see just how lovely it turned out. So I'm just going to keep blending. It's okay if it looks a little splotchy. The ocean is not even, so we don't have to worry about perfection. We just want to get some of our color down. I'm going to come up to where that line's at, and I'm going to really load up my color right there on that horizon. And I'm going to blend it down. You know, there's something about we always want to do in our little circular motions when we're blending, but you don't always have to. You can just move back and forth like I'm doing. I think this card just is so stinking gorgeous. And there's so much going on it. You have everything from the rocks to the lighthouse to the clouds to the birds to the actual little ripples of waves out there. So I'm going to show you how to get all of that effect on this card, and I think it is gorgeous. Let's see, I think that might have given us a good little amount of coloring. I'm going to do a little bit more right in here. And I'm going to turn my brush over, and I'm going to go ahead and close up this ink for right now. And let's go ahead and pull off our masking. I'll tell you what, before we do that, let's go ahead and do our waves. And I'm going to show you a product that allowed me to put those waves in, and I thought it turned out really cute. I don't know if you've used any of the Stampin' Up shimmer paste. This is shimmery white embossing paste. This stuff is a game changer. You might want to go ahead and grab a bottle of it or jar of it now, because you're going to be able to get a lot of use out of this at Christmas. Putting snow on your trees. I mean, it's just glistening up your snowflakes. Just so many different uses for this. It is a little gooey, so I would suggest to have a baby wipe or something close by so you can wipe off any of your tools that you might get it on. Like I just got it in my scissors, but that's okay. And Stampin' Up also sells the palette knives that pair beautifully with this, and we're going to use the straight one. You get 3 in your pack, and you get this nice big angled one, you get the little tiny one with a point, and then you get the straight one. We're going to use the straight one today, I think. You know, maybe I could do better with this one. Let's give this one a try. Never know if you don't try. So I know my paste is already well used, so I'm going to use this part of my knife, and I'm just going to go and all this is doing is putting down little waves, little ripples in the ocean. So you want to make sure you got enough of paste, but not too much. So I want it just on that edge. It's just going to give you a nice little shimmer across the water. Just something like that. They're never going to look the same. No matter how many times you do this, your waves are going to look a little different. But that gives me a good effect of just some waves out there in the ocean. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe this off. You don't want to waste your paste. Make sure you keep this covered up because it will dry out. You might even want to put like a piece of plastic wrap or what is it called? Press and seal. Yeah, I had to look. I have a roll of it right here in my craft room, so I had to look down there to remember the name. Press and seal. I keep a roll in my craft room and a roll in my kitchen because I love that stuff. But I'm going to clean that palette knife off well enough to hold me until I get to the sink with it, and I'm going to lay it over there, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in my trash. Now let's just go ahead and pull off our paper or masking paper, and you're going to see what a beautiful effect we have with the ocean versus the sky. Isn't that pretty? So pretty. So I'm just going to tape this back on to my piece because I can use this over and over. So I'm just going to mash that down and put it back in my little, I keep my masking paper inside one of these stamp covers. And you can buy these as well. They're great for embellishments, your Stampin' Dimensionals. Also, they work great for our stamp sets from our paper pumpkin. So that's all that is. And I'm just going to keep them in there. For right now, I'm going to move my palette knives out of my way. And we're going to lay this over to the side and let it dry. While it's drying, we're going to work on some of our other elements. One of the main elements is our rock formation. And if you notice, we have a beautiful little rock formation. Very simple to make. I have a piece of smoky slate, and this piece is cut 3 by 4. And I want to measure up, and I'm going to use my grid to do that with. I want to measure up 1 inch, and I'm going to make myself a tick mark right here, because that's where I want my rock formation to start. Now I am going to pull back over my grid paper like this, and we are going to grab the stamp out of our lighthouse point, and we're going to grab the rocks. And it's a small stamp, it's not very big. You want to make sure that the top, that this is the top. So when you look at your stamp, just look at the image of your stamp and make sure that that is what you're actually getting. So the more rippled area is to the bottom, the smoother, almost like a heart shape it goes in right there, is like a heart. Do you see what I'm saying? And you can actually lay it over top of that and see if it matches. If it does, if you lay it this way, you're going to notice it doesn't quite match. So make sure that your little rock formation is hanging in the right direction. We're going to use some smoky slate ink, and I'm going to grab a block that will accommodate my, and I think I'm going to grab my Stampin' Pierce mat just to give myself a little extra cushioning up underneath here. I am going to use the paper over top of it, so if I stamp off, and I do plan on stamping off, so I'm going to ink this up really well, and I'm going to start right here at that point where I made that pencil mark, and I'm going to stamp. And I'm going to stamp down here, and we're going to stamp up here at the top, and then we're just going to come down about like this and about like that, and then about like here, and that's going to give us our rock formation, maybe a little bit right here. And then I'm just going to go back and fill in. No rocket science, just a nice little hill of rock. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to close up my smoky slate ink, and I'm going to grab my little paper snips because I want to trim this off and make it look jagged all the way up to the top. And how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to go in and out, in and out, in and out along that ridge, just giving myself the permission to go in and out all the way up, in out. Doesn't have to be perfect, you just want it to look jagged, like the rocks. Just like that. And there is your piece. Now this is going to sit on here. Yeah, I think I cut that a little bit too high. That's okay. You know what we'll do? We're just going to go like that. Yeah, that's more what I wanted. And see when you lay that on there how pretty that's going to look. But we're not done because we're going to add some texture to this, and we're also going to do some inking around it. So I have my Stripes and Splatters embossing folder, and I grabbed out the splatter one because I wanted these rocks to have some definition, and I thought this embossing folder that is current would be the perfect embossing folder to do that. So I'm going to lay it in, making sure that your Stampin' Up emblem is to the front. The reason I say that because I made the mistake with the first one that I did, and I did it backwards, and I just ran it back through again, and it was all good. This is a 3D embossing folder, so I am going to need my number 4 specialty plate. So I am going to, this is what we're using. We're using a number 1, our embossing folder with our cardstock in it, and then our number 4 plate. That's simple. This, let me move my drink over here. The last thing I need to do is knock that over. This Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine makes everything so simple because everything is just out there. Just shows you what needs to be done. Now look at the difference putting that texture on that piece. How pretty is that? And it looks like rock. So I love the way that turned out. So I'm going to move everything back. Let's see, we need this and this. And we don't need the number 4 because we've already done our embossing. So let's put that one back over here. Now I am going to grab my gray brush. And I'm going to use some of this smoky slate. And what I want to do is ink this brush up and then just go around these edges. You could do this with a sponge dauber or a sponge or whatever, but just something to darken up the edges and also kind of camouflage where we cut with our scissors. I'm going to go across the bottom. And I'm even going to come up in here a little bit with just a little more ink. Look at my thumb, it's glimmering. Can y'all see that? I got paste on the end of my thumb. Yes, and I still haven't got my nails done. Oh goodness, it's been a busy week. But that's okay. My nails will be here. So there is our nice little crevice piece. So I'm going to lay that up and let that dry. Not that it takes long for that to dry at all. I'm going to put my brushes up because I think we're done with those. And with this for the moment. So the next thing I want to do is get those pieces out of our way. We're going to go back and look at this, but what is even more important, I want to look at the dies. We're going to look at the dies in here. I did forget my silver. I'm going to grab my little silver piece. What we're going to use out of here are the clouds, and the cloud, I guess you would call the detail part of the cloud. So I'm going to get both of the clouds out and both of the detail pieces, and this is the wave dies. And I'm also going to get out the very cute little seagulls. So I'm going to lay those out. And then our lighthouse dies, we are going to use the big one and the detail piece, and also this tiny little piece. That's going to be cut out of the foil, so the silver foil. I think it's going to be so cute. Oh, and we also need this because that's going to be cut out of black. And that is pretty much it. Maybe we'll use this larger die for our sentiment. That'd be pretty. Alright, I'm just going to put those back together, and I'm going to put those out. Basically, our dies are kind of the star of the show. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece out of white. So I'm going to put that onto my piece, and I'll tell you what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to take a pair of long scissors. I could bring my trimmer out, but it's just as easy to do it this way. And I'm just going to cut that up. The reason I'm going to do that, because I want to try to get as much cut in one pass as I can. I also have a piece of bread, and we're going to cut the solid piece out of bread. And we'll do the same thing with it. I'm going to cut off what I don't need. And I'm going to lay this on our die cut machine. Like that. And then we need a little piece of black to cut this piece out. So I'm just going to snip this off. Something like that. And I'm going to lay that over here. And let's go ahead and cut our our clouds. So I'm not going to do the detail part yet. I'm going to just do the little bit of the white part of my cloud. And let's snip that off. And we'll put that right there. That's quite a bit to do in one pass, so that's going to save a lot of time. Then we can go back and cut this piece out of white. We can, I think we can get our birds out of this piece too. Yep, we sure can. So let me show y'all what I have on here. This is what I have on my my plate. So you can see how easy it would be to cut all of this in one pass. So I'm going to go ahead and cover it up with my cover plate very carefully, and I am going to start pushing it through. And we are cutting all of this in one pass, which that makes me happy. The more die cutting you can get done with one pass, the faster you can get a project done. So here we go. We have our solid lighthouse. We have our little seagulls, both our small one and our larger one. And let's see, these are going to go back in. Okay, those go in one set and these go in the other. And let's pull this up. And this machine cuts so well, you very seldom have to do anything as far as getting your pieces out. They fall right out. Look at this. Isn't that wonderful? The way they just come right out. So that piece is done. Let's pick up our clouds. Look how pretty our clouds are. So I'm just going to lay everything over here, and then as we get it done, the clouds go right over here. And let's go ahead and pull up our detailed lighthouse. Sometimes you might need a little bit of help with lifting those up, and if you do, a little spatula will work beautifully. I use this came with my Cricut. That will work. You can use the spatula end on take your pick tool. That works great. And this is all cut out. How pretty is that? and this will layer up on here absolutely beautifully. But I want to cut off this top piece, so I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to go just underneath those windows and cut that off just like that. And then what we're going to do is we are going to put the black piece over it and then lay this down over top of that, and we're going to put that little piece that we are going to cut. Did I cut that? Nope, I don't think I did. I'm going to run through one more time, and we're going to cut our piece of silver off of this. And you know how the lighthouses always have that little rail around the top? Ours is going to be silver because it'll be beautiful. So I'm going to take my birds. I'll lay those on top of my cloud so I can see them. And let's go ahead and push all of this stuff off, and we're going to lay that down. Try to get all my bits and pieces in the trash as I go so I don't have a total mess. Now I'm going to run that through. I'm also going to run this through, and I am going to run the cloud accent pieces through. So I'm going to use this little piece for that, and I think we got room on here for all of those. Of course we do. And let's cover up, and 2 passes and we can get everything we need cut for this card. I think that is fantastic. And here is our piece. And we're going to use this for our sentiment. And there's our little top that's going to go around. Let's see if we can lift that up with the edge. There we go. And all of those little pieces just fall right out, even out of foil. And then we're going to pick these pieces up. These are going to decorate our clouds. So I'm going to lay those over on the clouds. The wave dies, they're worth their money for just being able to cut those gorgeous clouds out of. Alright, so I am going to lay all my dies over out of my way, and let's go ahead and see if we can start putting our card together, because it is gorgeous, y'all. I love it. I absolutely love the way this card is turning out, how pretty it is. And let's lay this excess paper over here. I am going to bring this back over. The first thing I'm going to do is put some glue down, and I'm going to use my, I thought I had it right here. Where is my fine tip glue? Alright. Well, that is weird. Oh, there it is. It was hiding behind the other card. So I'm going to turn this piece over to the back, and I'm very delicately going to add glue down these sides and across these little bars. You want to try to get glue on all of your places that you can so that it will stick down well, but you don't have to do an overkill. Oops, you don't want to do that. Alright, and then I'm going to set it down to the bottom and slide it until it lines up perfectly. And a lot of times just lifting a piece up and pressing it with your fingers, it will fall right into place. Now this piece needs to be tucked under here just a bit. Okay, let's go ahead and turn it over. And again, we're going to put glue on the back of this black piece. Having your glue in a small bottle, or either using a sponge dauber or something, would help on those little tiny small pieces. And then there is that. Now we do need to put this little piece around it. And this little piece is going to go right across the top of the white. So we're only going to put glue on one portion of this, and that's right across that bottom. And we're going to set it right on the white. After this adheres, if you've got glue, and you can tell if you've got glue on your foil because it will look a little bit messy, you can always come back with a little alcohol wipe and wipe that off. Let's come over this way just a hair more. Like that. And that piece is done, so I'm going to lay that up here out of the way. Let's go ahead and let's stamp our sentiment. Sending you love and light. I like that one. I love that one. So let's pull that one off. I do have a Memento ink right here. Let's grab our little piece. Oh, come on. I'm going to get my Stampin' Pierce mat again. And let's put it up on here. That's not going to fit, so let's grab another stamp block. I'm going to try lining this up. If I line it up on a straight line, I'm more apt to stamp it straight. So let's see what we can do. Then I'm going to line my peaks up on a straight line. And let's ink. And set it right down in the middle. Try not to rock it. Let it go flat down, hold it, and then lift it up. Beautiful. Alright, so now let's bring our card mat over. And let's go ahead and adhere this down. This I am going to put down with dimensionals because I want it to look like rocks and I want it to kind of sit up from everything. So I'm going to put a dimensional right there. I might even use some of these little pieces to go around the edges. Let's try it like right about there. That's good. And let's do the rest of this one. I'll do that one right there. And then I'm just going to strategically put some of these other dimensionals around the edges just to make sure we get a good hold, and I think that would be plenty. So I'm going to grab my Take Your Pick tool. Let me put my top back on my Memento ink. And I'm going to pull these off. Once you get to this point, this card comes together so quickly. I think you're going to really love it once you see just how easy it is. There's a lot of little steps in it, but it's not a hard card to make at all. And it's such a dynamic card once you get it done. And who doesn't love a beautiful lighthouse? It reminds me of we lost one of my ex-husband's brother-in-laws to COVID last summer, and kind of the end of the summer, and he used to sing in church, and he sang a song that was just everybody's favorite, and it was The Lighthouse. And every time I see a lighthouse, I think of John. So I think this little piece can be trimmed off just a tiny bit, right about there. Yep, that looks good. So now we can go ahead and take our lighthouse that we've already put together, and that can go down right about here. I'm just going to kind of lay everything out to make sure that I'm getting it about where I want it. Sending light and love. I think that's going to go right about there. We can actually let it come off a little bit, so I'm going to bring that over to the edge of the card. So what I want to do is, I know from about here down I want glue, and from here up I want dimensionals. So I'm going to grab my dimensionals, and I am going to put these right about there. And I'm going to snip that or pull it. And then I'm going to do, oh, you know, I did that opposite. If you can pull it back up before it adheres. I think we might have that okay. And I'm going to put this right about here. And I'll stick those back down. I'm going to take my snips and I'm going to snip that little piece off right there, because I don't want it to go all the way up to the top. Just about to there. Now that looks about right, though we don't need this one. Let's see if we can salvage that one. If not, we'll call it just a, oh yeah, it's coming off. So let's put it right there. And now we're going to put glue on the bottom of this. And the reason I'm using glue on the bottom, we've got this really kind of crackly area down here that we embossed. So the Stampin' Dimensionals might not grab really good. Plus this is popped up, so this doesn't need to be. But this part does. Isn't that pretty? Straighten it and make sure we got it nice and straight. Gorgeous. So now I'm going to take this one and put here. And we'll use the rest of those across there. I think right there would be good with that. So now we need to go back in. Let's look at our clouds. I'm going to show you how cute these clouds are once you put your little dooflachies, I like to call them. These are going to go on like that. See how cute that is? It just gives your cloud some dimension. And doing it in gray, you could do it in blue if you wanted to, but I'm going to do it in gray. This is where I really need my silicone craft sheet, but you know what? We're going to do it with this. And see how much dimension that lends to that cloud? Isn't that cute? So we're going to put that cloud down hanging a little bit low, and we're going to grab our little one. And I lost one of my birds. Let's bring our birds over here so I don't forget them. And our little cloud. And we're going to take this piece and do the same thing. We're going to put glue all over the back side of that little piece. And then we're going to line it up right across that bottom, just making sure that you meet those bottom edges. And we're going to put this one right about here. So I'm going to go ahead and commit with some glue. And then this one's the same way. We're going to go ahead and put some glue on it. And this one's going to be hanging a little lower. Maybe right about there. And then of course we got to do our little seagulls. And then we're going to have one here. And then maybe one over here. Very good. So I'm just going to hold these up and put a little glue on the back. Stick that down. And then a little bit back here on the back of this one. And we're, oops, we got glue all over the front of him. That's okay. Should dry clear. Okay, I think I need something for my fingers. My fingers are full of glue and glitter. Y'all make a mess when you craft. If you're not making a mess, then you're not having fun, right? Okay. I think this card turned out gorgeous. And you're going to see that the cliff looks different in both cards because they are going to look different because you cut that. So it's gonna be a little different in each. Sorry about that. Bella got under my chair. You okay, baby girl? She got under the edge of my chair. I'm sorry, baby. I've moved and I think it caught the hair on her toe or either her tail. I'm not sure which. I'm taking the alcohol wipe and just wiping that silver part off. I try my best to tell them to stay out from under my chair, but bless their little hearts, they never listen. Alright, I'm going to grab my card base. Remember, we had this beautiful black. I think it really does make a statement on the black. So I'm going to take some liquid glue and I'm going to put liquid glue all over the back. Just like that, and down, like so. And give it a good press all the way around. And if you wanted to go back and put a little bit more of that glitter on this one, you could do that. But look at those waves, aren't they beautiful? You could come back and put a little Wink of Stella on the clouds. Let's do that. Let's grab a Wink of Stella. I think I've got one here. I do. So I'm going to shake that up really well and pull my top off. And I think what I'm going to do is just go in just like that. And what if we go over the word light? You want to be careful with your inks because this does have an alcohol base in it and it can cause your inks to smear a little bit. So I think that's all we're going to do. A little shimmer right there on that line. So pretty. What do y'all think? I love, love, love it. And I made both cards just alike, but they do look a little different. The placement of the clouds, the birds, the difference in the sentiment, and the different way that I cut my little hill, my rocks. But they're the same card. How about that? So you could cut your, cut your rocks up higher or lower, or however you see fit. But both cards are absolutely gorgeous, and you can make this card yourself. All you need, some cardstock. Most of this was done with scrap. The only thing that wasn't a scrap was my card base and my piece of my 4" by 5 1/4 blue mat. Everything else, this was a scrap. My white here was a scrap. The silver that I did around there was a scrap. The black, the gray, all of that was a scrap that I just pulled out of my scrap bin. So I love it when I can use up scraps and make something beautiful. Y'all have to let me know what you think of this video. If this is something that you would like to try, then leave me a comment in the video and let me know which one was your favorite. The first one, or the second one. I think they're both beautiful in their own right. So I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And as I always say in closing, let everything that you do and say bring glory to our Father in heaven. He is so worthy. So until we craft again, God bless and keep you. Bye-bye.